welcome to My Legend podcast. This is Shanteri Malya here, your host, welcoming you to a very interesting and insightful episode. The reason being, we have a special guest joining us, Shikha Vora Biswas. Shikha ji needs no introduction, but let me do the honors of welcoming her on this show. She is a prolific writer, a great music connoisseur, and not to forget, carries a rich legacy, a family legacy of being the daughter of the legendary music maestro Anil Biswas ji, and also the beautiful star of the 1930s and the 1940s, Ashlata Biswas. So need I say more? Shikha ji also has varied interests and runs an organization called Sangeet Smriti, which encourages music of all forms, primarily dedicated to her late father, but also felicitates great music. So on that note, without further ado, let me welcome Shikha Vora Biswas. Welcome Shikha ji. Very glad to have you on My Legend podcast on this live conversation today.
Namaskar and good evening to all our viewers and listeners who have joined us today. And thank you so much everyone for taking the time and trouble to be here with us. And above all, thank the honor of having me on your, esteemed show today, page.
It's my pleasure. It's my absolute pleasure to have you here. So looking forward to a great conversation, a freewheeling conversation, which we'll take along. I have a good many bag of questions to ask you, and let's see how we can take it forward. Shikha ji, needless to say, you come from a film family and you've had, very famous parents as you were, you're born into a very famous family. But your earliest memories of music may or may not have been related to them per se, So that's my opening question. So where did your earliest memories really jump back to, whether it had anything to do with their music, not their music, all yours.
Well, it's very strange that my first memory of anything to do with cinema, whether music or acting or whatever, was nothing to do with my father at all. I gone to see a film called Didar with my grandmother. I must have been 6 years old, and I was totally fascinated by the entire medium, It all seemed so magical. You could take a picture of two children. That time I remember Parikshit Sami and David Tabassum were the kids. And I was totally fascinated by all that. I came back with stars in my eyes, something new. That was my first memory.
Absolutely.
And of course, it's very strange, that having a composer father and an actor mother who also later on became a producer. And all the time they were either singers coming to the house, there were actors coming to the house, and they would keep technical and Mangeshkar taraf pehle hote. But lyricists like Narendra Sharma played the one, actors like Shekhar and Diggy. But to us, they were all uncle auntie. We didn't sort of, connect them with any kind of celebritydom or some fame or, we were meant to stare at them goggle-eyed. No, nothing of the sort. In fact, we were not even allowed to come into the drawing room when they were there. I think it was to do with the kind of times that children had to be hidden in the bedrooms and, when the adults came and we had two separate existences.
Correct.
And then later on, sorry, you were saying something?
No. Please continue.
No, later on, I mean, my first acquaintance with music, with film music, was listening to gramophone records in the house. That probably was the main medium of hearing film music at that time. And there were records of a film called Farhad, or Devanand in Goa, it's known as popular. And we listened to those songs again and again, primarily because my nanny was a Goan. And she would always say, hey baby, wo lagao Goa wala gana. So, we heard all those songs continuously in the house. And then a little later on, we heard the songs of my mother's songs. Auntie and Najma and Mari. Probably because there were free samples given by the HMV to the producers. But I had no other kind of connection. I never heard my father sitting in the house and composing a tune. I mean, I didn't know what he did for a profession. We never saw that. Maybe he was always outside doing meetings or rehearsals or sittings or recordings. But we had no idea what he did for a living, and we
Correct.
never actually saw him sitting and composing in the house. Because we probably would have got some idea that it's all to do with music. But I knew my mother was a producer because she used to pick up a briefcase and go to the studio, and then she would sit and discuss, all the schedules for the shoot or outdoor locations on the phone. So we used to overhear. But my dad's, sort of framework of his work was a total, question mark to us. We didn't know what he did for a living. Very strange it is, but perhaps those days it was not so prolific to, compose songs for say 10 films at a time, which happened later in the 80s, 70s, 80s. So they probably did one film at a time, and then they took their time slowly over composing. And that really makes me wonder about my father's compositions, because if you didn't sit and rehearse or compose a tune, when did you make all these beautiful tunes? And perhaps it may be at night when we were on the sleep and it was quiet and no disturbance, that maybe he would sit with the harmonium. I really have had no idea of what he did. And slowly, once I got into my teens, then I got exposed to a different kind of music, because I got friendly with some music directors like Jai Kishan and Ravi, and I mean, their music was totally unlike what my father did. And I thought that this music was great. I didn't appreciate my dad's music so much. I thought that, yeah, this music is really good, whatever. My father was very disapproving, but he didn't say anything. Perhaps he smiled and looked very, with dismay at what kind of taste is my daughter developing. But he didn't trust his music onto us. He never forced us कि नहीं मेरे गाने सुनो और मेरा इतना popular गाना था. So
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
so that's it.
Given that, given that he's actually such a, I mean, like he had a whole prolific bouquet of work, and some of the numbers, I recall, when we were discussing, you kind of brought up Beman Tore Nenva, and you actually said, I mean, it's a beautiful, very, very modern song, very intimate, and one of your favorites in terms of the fact that it was a
It
very
is.
modern song.
It is. It is because actually I was really totally enamored with the movie itself,
Correct.
and I think it was very modern. I'm sorry, and that beautiful chemistry between Dilip Kumar and Madhubala is sort of blazoned onto the screen. Chingariya pek raha tha wo. So it
Correct.
was totally fascinating. And this particular song, which actually is based on a Thumri style, I don't know if people realize it. The
Correct.
way the word Beiman has been sung in different ways.
Correct.
It's a Thumri, borrowed from the Thumri style. And
Absolutely.
perhaps it had to do with their off-screen romance, which sort of was so obvious in the way they looked at each other, and I
Correct.
said, wow. I was totally enamored with Dilip Kumar, not so much with Madhubala,
Correct.
probably. But I
Correct.
said, I'm going to marry this guy when I grow up.
Correct, correct. I mean, I completely get it. I mean, completely get it. I mean, if I have to look at Beman Tore Nenva, and if I have to talk about a particular, sort of a thing, maybe just give a brief, sort of, I think, is it visible on the screen? Maybe, maybe for viewers to know what exactly you're saying, maybe this would be a good sort
Yes.
of,
And amazing, it's all in black and white. It's so
correct,
simple.
correct,
Madhubala,
absolutely,
no assets like wigs and glamorous makeup. Amazing. That's a shot. That's a good
correct,
shot.
absolutely. Maybe we'll take it to the further on and
बेईमान तोरे नैनवा निंदिया नाय बेईमान तोरे नैनवा निंदिया नाय सुख सोएगा के रात कहीं भागी न जाए सुख सोएगा के रात कहीं भागी न जाए
As we come back, I mean, just a brief glimpse to our viewers, just for the uninitiated. Of course, those who are in the know of these things definitely know for a fact what you were saying, but just for the uninitiated, some of them, sort of a glance.
Also, it endorses what I've been saying. Your
Exactly,
presentation.
exactly. So, moving on further, there were several other songs, where your mother, Srimati Ashlata ji, was the producer, Lajawab. I mean, there's so many good songs that must have kind of resonated with you, Mohabbat Ki Basti, So Gayi
That's from
Chand.
Parade.
Yes, from Fareb, later on, and even other songs from Tarana, and even, Anilda's earlier songs from Gajre. There's just such a huge body of work. I'm very sure there was a lot that kind of, must have been a discovery for you. I have an interesting question for you here, Shikhaji, and I thought it would make for a very interesting thing. Unlike other film children, as you rightly pointed out, you really didn't know the creative process that was going on in your house, and maybe for the longest time you knew some of the larger hits that your father had composed or things that your mother was part of. But what was that particular thing, that incident that actually brought Anilda's music to your notice? I mean, and I eventually believe it was much later. So could you walk us through what really happened?
Yes. Actually, see, I didn't know much of my dad's music. My mother, it was who taught me, strangely enough, with her one-tone voice. She taught me songs like Zamane Ka Dastur Hai Ye Purana, Mohabbat Ki Basti. And I, like I said, because I sort of diverted to more of Shankar Jaikishan, S.D. Burman, that popular kind of music. I didn't know many of my father's songs. And what happened was, all I had was one cassette called Golden Memories, which had been taken out by HMP, the Golden Collection, sorry. And that had about, I think, 10 or 12 songs. That was already including these songs that my mother had taught me. That was about, I think, 15 songs, like Maybe Couple from Pardesi, which was in my knowledge as my dad's music. Because I think somewhere I just took it for granted. Yes, there was one song I remember from a film called Rahi, which always used to make me cry, and that was Ikbal Ruk Jana. So these were few songs that I had in my memory. But in 2003, I decided to celebrate my father's birthday by having a party where some of my friends, newly found musical friends, would present his songs in front of him. So he was very happy. He said, okay. So when we sat to make the list, I only knew these 8-9 songs. He said, नहीं वो गाना भी डाल इसमें कौन सा अल्लाह भी है मल्लाह भी है तो ये कौन सा गाना है मैंने तो कभी नहीं सुना. So he played it and ever so sweetly. I mean, at 88, his voice was still gentle and sublime. I said, Baba, this is a beautiful song. Give me the cassette. I pitched it to somebody. He said, what cassette? I don't have any cassettes of my music. I said, what? He said, no, I gave everything away. He said, मैं 88 का हूँ. And he used to always compare himself to a dry twig on a leaf and say कि एक हवा का झोंका आएगा मुझको उड़ा ले जाएगा. तो he said कि अभी मेरी तो कितनी जिंदगी बची है मैंने सब अपना बांट दिया है. I said, thank you very much. मेरे को नहीं बांटा कुछ भी मेरे पल्ले पे कुछ नहीं आया. So I said, I'm going to Bombay because I know that Delhi people were not very much into this retro music. They also knew only the popular open air type of songs.
The Punjabi type.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Palle Bade kind.
Yeah.
So these kind of songs, which were of really a bygone era, nobody was aware of. So I decided to go to Mumbai to search for my father's music. This was 2003, mind you. That late in life, I mean. And there were two people I contacted, Bhatia and Dr. Prakash Joshi, who apparently had a large collection, but somehow I could not get anything from them. So my brother told me about a person called Manohar Iyer, who was running in the organization called Keep Alive, actually literally meaning to keep alive retro music. And when I approached him, he was very happy. And he said, yes, I'll give you. He gave 3 cassettes full of only Lata Mangeshkar sings for Aninda.
Wow.
3 cassettes full. And I went home with those cassettes and I told my brother, ऐसे मुन्ना ये 3 cassette मिले हैं, चल सुनते हैं. And then we started to hear those cassettes at night, about 9 o'clock, and by lamplight. And both of us were in a trance. We were so entranced, and we heard all the 3 cassettes throughout the night till early morning. And then I told him, I said, मुन्ना देख हमारे father ने इतनी खूबसूरत रचनाएं की है, and we don't know nothing. I've never heard most of these songs. I mean, like, how ridiculous is that? And then I went back and I, told him I got this khazana, but unfortunately, he passed away just a few days later. So that khazana was left with me, and that started my journey of discovering Anil Biswas. As late as that, I mean, it's shameful to say, I'm ashamed to admit it, but that is. There's also another reason that, when I got married, I went to the defense services where film music was a strict no-no. And my husband used to listen to a lot of classical music and instrumental music. So he didn't like film songs. He didn't know any of my father's songs except one, which was Ye Kalli Kalli Tere Liye Khar Banegi. And that also used to make fun. Ye Patti Patti Tez Talwar Banegi. It was like a socialist song. कमाल है तुम्हारे ससुर ने कुछ नहीं मालूम तुम्हें. So then I started finding a song of his from every source that I could possibly try and touch. And luckily for me, YouTube started also immediately, and then I could sort of look at the songs, the videos on YouTube, and and that's where after some time, slowly my knowledge broadened about his music. I started discovering his music in the real sense, listening to them, discovering the nuances. And the amazing thing, Shantanu, is that every time I listen to a song again, I would find something new. It's a strange experience. I don't know if other people feel it. और से यार ये मुर्की पिछले बार सुनी नहीं थी इसमें. So, and then I started observing his music. I started learning about his music and how he would have composed, and I discovered a lot of things for myself, which also has started my, experiments with anchoring, because now I'm listening to composers, listening to music and songs with a completely different eye and ear. I started understanding actually things behind the songs, and ये देखो ये note ऐसे इतना खूबसूरती से दिया है. It used to just sort of ricochet off. It was to listening, it bounces off your ears, and it's very peripheral, very superficial. But now I go deeply into every song and I can understand. I don't know how this has come to me. I really don't know. But I started understanding maybe because of listening a lot to his music. Going into an in-depth study. And believe me, it's been an amazing experience. And it spoils me for any other music director now. Because I feel that, yeah, ye to kuch nahi hai, and all those friends of mine, Ravi's music I still like because it's simple and, straightforward. But other music directors said me, oh yeah, they just made popular music. They didn't make good music. And there is a very subtle difference between the two. But I think it all depends on your taste.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It's like jumping into an ocean and into the depths of the ocean. It's like you're never going to reach to the bottom of the bed of the ocean,
But you're lucky if you reach there, then you can pick up the oysters and find the pearls hidden at the bottom.
Absolutely. Very well put. Because I've noticed that despite the fact that one is exposed to his music right from childhood, there are many hidden gems which even I'm completely unaware of. So I know where you're coming from, and it's a journey of empathy. Absolutely, it brings me to another.
Discovering more and more music every day.
Absolutely.
And thanks to the page I put up, the Aura of Anil Biswas on Facebook.
Absolutely.
I'll be posting songs and I say, oh, I didn't know my dad sang this.
Absolutely.
The song that he sang, for example, all these years I knew only of 2 songs. One was that Habe Maar Chala Ye Khayali Ye Gham. Na idhar ke rahe,
na udhar ke rahe, by Gope. Yeah, Arzu, yes.
And the other song I knew was from Aurat. Kahe karta der barati. That song I knew. So I only knew 2 songs, but I'm discovering how many songs he sang. So it's been amazing. He sang a song called Salil Chaudhary, for example, Chale Bajate Siti. I mean, that was playback. And somebody sent me a very delightful song that he has sung in Nautanki style completely. एक दुल्हन थी मस्तानी अपने राजा की रानी, like that. So it's been a very, very wonderful, voyage of discovery. Going to search for those pearls. You have to dive into the
Absolutely. So for the uninitiated, Shikhaji is referring to a Facebook group called the Aura of Anil Biswas. It's a thriving group of which she is one of the chief admins, and you have exemplary posts coming there of different types of music. And for those of you who have not tuned into that group, please do join. You will get the gems of the earth there. And Shikhaji is very active there, and she has an active set of people who really follow her posts and follow the other members' posts as well. So Shikhaji, thank you for bringing up that group as well. This brings me to another point here.
Yes.
Of course, for those people who have joined on this conversation, definitely need no introduction to Anilda's music, but it's very interesting to note that he started off as one of the early pioneers of Hindi film music. He went from strength to strength. In fact, in the very I think a lot of he and his contemporaries, some of his chosen contemporaries, defined early Hindi film music when the sound came in. So absolutely. So yes, absolutely. So a little about the fact that you had very aptly mentioned some very less known trivia about the fact that he was among the early pioneers who brought in playback also as a concept. A little about that, Shikhaji.
Yes, very true. Actually, playback singing was started. The first time a song was recorded in the studio
Correct.
was in Calcutta New Theatres
Correct.
in 1935 by R.C. Boral and Pankaj Malik.
Correct.
And I'm, very proud that my bua, my father's sister, was one of the 3 singers who sang in the very first playback, which also my father had casually told me. And that was the beauty of him, that he was so humble about everything. And then he casually told me once, that I started playback singing in Bombay. And I mean, it just ricocheted off me also. I mean, what a huge thing he had done. And I was just casually taking it like that. But sound came in 1935. This song that was recorded in the studio. And in 1937, in Bombay, they were doing experiments. And he pioneered playback singing in a film called Mahageet, 1937. We were 2 years behind Calcutta, but we started with that. And Saraswati Devi of Bombay Talkies came on with it later on. So,
Absolutely.
that's true.
It's very interesting because I think it was a very experimental time, and then so many things. So there was trial, there was error, and what emerged was such a beautiful process which continues till this day with film music, right? We are
At that time, yeah, this entire medium was in its nascent stage.
correct.
Just started. I mean, sound came in 31 only.
Correct.
So this entire thing was already very experimental.
Correct.
And people who had that frame of mind, and they wanted to actually face challenges, they wanted to do difficult things, overcome difficult things, they were the ones who really helped to part the waves, so that way a lot of experiments he had done. And at that time, say in movies like Aurat and Roti, where he actually introduced even Western features of classical music like harmony chorus and all that way back then.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
Absolutely. And all the Bombay Talkies hits into the 40s, brilliant stuff.
For that, it was Sagar Movie Toll, that was a studio which had contracted him and Mehboob Khan, and they together, they were very, very good friends. Like Mehboob Khan called my father Bengali, and my father called him Mawali. I don't know what they worked on a lot of classics together. Aurat, which was remade into Mother India
Mother
later by
India.
Vanessa. And the great Naushad himself has gone on record to say that Anilda's music in Aurat was much better than my music in Mother India.
Right.
I don't know if listeners will agree with that, but this is what Naushad Sahib said.
Right.
And you have to also compare the time, all right? That was such an early time. Sound recording was not good. there were a lot of glitches, even then. But in spite of all that, they volunteered to do good work, and they came up with a good product. Nevertheless, I mean, so that was the Sagar movie tour. Then of course Kismat came with Bombay Talkies.
Absolutely.
Came with a lot of good movies for him. The first one was Basant, which
Basant.
actually on a record has music by Pannalal Ghosh, but Pannalal Ghosh was just a front, my dad had told me. At that time, he was contracted to Sagar Movie Tone or Natural Studios, it became later, and therefore he was not allowed to work for any other studio. So he did the ghost composing.
And what
And,
songs?
all the songs
And
was
what
popular.
songs? मेरे छोटे से मन में तुमको मुबारक हो ऊंचे महलिए हमको है प्यारी. Exactly. Yeah. Wonderful songs. I mean, very iconic songs. Then Kismat, of course, the nationalist wave, the Quit India
Yes,
wave.
yes.
I mean, it was
All
brilliant.
the songs of Kismat were popular.
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
especially that Lori Dheere Dheere Aa Rahi.
Dheere Dheere Aare Badal Dheere. Wonderful songs. I mean, if you really look back, it was such a pioneering era. Now that you brought up Naushad Shikhaji, it brings me to a very pivotal question. So, Anilda was slated to and even composed the songs for the great magnum opus. I mean, the earlier version that Asif had conceptualized, Mughal-e-Azam. And eventually things petered out and he had to use the songs for another movie called Maan, right? So what really, what happened during that phase? Of course, it's public domain knowledge, that,
No, nothing really happened except that nothing happened.
Okay.
Literally, because the film actually was started with Dilip Kumar is in the lead roles, and the role of Akbar was being played by a actor called Chandra Mohan, who had those very fierce green eyes, I remember. And then in between, suddenly Chandra Mohan died, achanak. So that was like some setback for them. After that, Nargis decided to get married, and then she didn't want to act in movies anymore. So then she was suddenly out. And the main reason was that K. Asif, he had these huge, dreams, epic dreams about making this grandiloquent effort at filmmaking. He was a very expensive director, putting up these huge sets, etc. So they ran short of finance, basically. They ran short of finance, the film stalled automatically. And Anilda had already composed the songs about some of them. And they waited for 6 years and the film didn't go into production again. And it was about that time that he then got this offer to do Maan, which was also the story of Anarkali. So all these songs, Allah Bhi Hai, Mallah Bhi Hai, and the song which would have been in the situation of Pyar Kiya To Darna Kya, that song, Keh Do Ki Mohabbat Se Na Takraye Zamana. Those two songs he put into Maan later on for similar situations. Then there was a song which was not recorded, but I just know the lyrics of the tune because my cousin had taught it to me, saying it was made for this film. So, but let's see, maybe sometime on the Anil Biswas website, I will just record and put a few lines there. And then after 6 years, a lot of changes happened because Anilda's music was still popular, but there was a new kind of trend coming in. And in between that time, suddenly Naushad had become maestro number one,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And he and Dilip Kumar and Shakil Badayuni, they had made this very dynamic trio along with Rafi Saab. And a lot of Dilip Kumar films were hits at that time. Great successes, Amar, Udat Katola, Aan, etc. So then after 6 years, they decided to remake the whole film with new artists and new crew and new star cast. And then that's the time that Kyasef probably opted for Naushad.
Quite.
So there was no kind of, bad blood between them, anything, and so it was fine.
Absolutely. It just happened in the natural course of things.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There was no this thing. In fact, my mother was very friendly with Kyasef also. Used to visit his house a lot with actor Guru Dutt. Guru Dutt was very close to Kyasef. So she was friendly with his wife, Nigar Sultana, as well. So there was nothing that, there was no unpleasantness or anything like that.
Sure, sure. I have to mention at this point of time Anilda's association with Lataji. I mean, it was historic, it was prolific. He was literally her mentor, and she delivered some of her absolute gems there. So, a little about that, Shikhaji, if you could just, since you have a first hand sort of a memory to it, all over to you.
Lataji, actually, when Lataji came into films, I was trying to get into films rather. The kind of music lovers would know that the kind of voices that were prevalent, the female voices, were all very strong and vibrant and very full-throated. Voices like Noor Jahan, Suraya, Zora Bai Ambale Wali, Shamshad Begum, Amir Bai Karnataki. And the male voices prevalent were more mellow, like Tarak Mahmood and Mukesh and etc. So when Lataji came, actually producers and composers rejected her because they said her voice was too thin. Yeah, बहुत बारीक आवाज है, पतली आवाज है ये. And Master Ghulam Haidar, he had brought Lataji to my father's house and said कि लड़की को जरा सुन लो. And my father said he was so impressed with Lata Mangeshkar because how it is that in the earlier times when there were singer actors, right? There were no playback singers earlier on, and my father said he had worked with a lot of Besura actors. So they had to sing their own songs.
Absolutely.
And here was a singer not only with a miraculous voice but also with a musical education. So yeah, those people were not educated musically, they had not learnt music. But Lataji from a very young age had been learning from her father, the great Dinanath Mangeshkar. And he was so excited, he said, now finally I can compose what I want. Knowing fully well, with confidence, that Lata will deliver it, will do complete justice to my composition, which could not have been done earlier. But he had to struggle. There were only these three composers who were helping and aiding her at that time. Master Ghulam Haidar was there, my dad, and Khemchand Prakash.
Khemchand Prakash, yes,
Yes.
very much.
So my father gave her, songs to do in a film called Girls' School. That was in 1948, before Barsat and all. And she had recorded 2 songs for the film. But somewhere in between, my father had some disagreement with Kavi Pradeep. Apparently, this is what Lataji has told me herself. That उनका कुछ अनबन हो गया था आपस में, so अनिल ने film छोड़ दी. And it was taken over by his assistant, C. Ramchandra. But look at Lataji's greatness. Those were ethics of that time. That she refused to sing the songs of Girls' School after that.
Wow, okay.
Saying that मुझे तो अनिल दा ने यहाँ बुलाया था गाने के लिए. अब अनिल दा इस फिल्म में नहीं है, तो मैं भी इस फिल्म में नहीं हूँ. Simple. And at a time when she was really needy, I mean, she was, they needed finance, she had to support her whole family. It was simply her greatness and, great sense of ethics that she made a statement like that. And she left the film. Now my father started mentoring her in a way that she would come to our house every day, and then she would come in the morning and she would walk all the way from Tardeo, where she was staying, all the way to Hindu Colony Dadar. Walk, because she had no money for the train or tram or anything. My father would teach her some particular lines, We of course were not allowed to go there, so we used to always chako from the hinges of the doors. But we used to see he's teaching us something, and then he would say, "Chal tu practice kar, और मैं जाके खाना बना रहा हूँ." And my mother told me that he specifically used to go to cook for her, for Lata, because she was fond of non-veg, fish and mutton and everything. But they could not afford to eat, to buy all that thing because it was expensive. So he used to go and specially make. Oh, there's this famous picture on the net. I think you must have seen with Lataji sitting and my father in a lungi.
And cooking, yes, there's a cauldron, and it is by the, yes, absolutely, absolutely. It's a beautiful picture. Absolutely, it's a beautiful picture.
on WhatsApp.
Absolutely, absolutely. And saying those were the days, you know? Yeah.
And then they would have lunch, and then he would sleep. And he used to make her press his legs, मेरे पैर दबा, you know. So उसके बाद वो पैर दबाती थी, and शाम को उठ के फिर वो he would make her, now okay, now sing whatever I've taught you, and then he would correct her and guide her. So that's the way it started. Now for all that, my mother chose her to sing in Ladli. Ladli May, she sang and she refused to take money. Again, another, I mean, symbol of her greatness was that at a time when she was wanting, she said, no, मैं आपसे पैसे नहीं दूँगी. And my mother gifted her with a pair of solitaire earrings,
Wow.
according to my mom. So that started her flirtation with the stone.
Absolutely, absolutely. Lata ji is absolutely known to be a, shokeen of diamonds,
Yeah.
They associate that white and the diamonds thing with her. Wonderful story.
Those rings.
Great story, great story. Wonderful, wonderful. Ekdam Guru Shishya Parampara between Anilda and Lata ji.
Yes.
And at this point of time, Shikha ji, I would like to play one of her gems from Ladli, which I do believe must have been some sort of an all-time favorite, maybe, if Anilda were to pick.
It's the most favorite of all. I mean, people, music lovers consider this to be the top song of the Anil Biswas Lata Mangeshkar combo.
Absolutely.
And to let you know that it is also Lata ji's most favorite composition of Anilda's.
Absolutely. So maybe just a small,
By herself.
maybe a small, clipping or an audio clipping from this would be in order,
Sure.
just to kind of let our already knowledgeable viewers kind of maybe get. Oh, it's buffering.
And I'm on my way to setting up the business independently. I took up an offer with 7.
I think it's buffering in, but I think it's a gem in any case. We'll see if we can play it again sometime. So I just stopped sharing this on my screen for now, because it was kind of buffering there. So we'll get back in any case. Yeah, we'll get back so Ladli is one of, my personal favorites too, because I think it's all thanks to my father, because I think he introduced me to this song and said it's his favorite, or one of his favorites among the many favorites of Anilda that he has. So I'm immensely grateful to the exposure I got through him. So moving on at this time, Shikha ji, we can't.
But Shantani, 1 second, just coming back to this song, if you notice that actually this song is a ghazal, if you look at the format. But you just hear the piano pieces he's put in to make it so lyrical.
Correct.
And that brings me to the point that he was the one who introduced a lot of Western instruments into Hindi
Correct.
music.
Correct. Absolutely.
The clarinet, the saxophone,
Correct.
the trumpet, the cello, and he used to go into places, very crowded places like Goregaon, Dhobi Talao, to look for the Goan musicians who could play these instruments. So that's another, contribution of his to
Yes.
Hindi film music, in case people didn't know.
Absolutely, and the piano notes in the beginning of Tumhari Bulane Ko is, it's awesome, I think, and it's also the dip and the rise, which is very unique. It's unlike any other song I've heard, so great. I think this conversation would be very incomplete if we didn't talk about the Talat Mahmood factor, Anilda's association and of course mentoring Talat Mahmood as well. So great gems that came from this table again, the combination again. So a little about that, Shikha ji, if you can.
Talat Mahmood, as most people would know by now, was a big hero in new theatres, Bengali films. And to identify with the Bengalis, he used to sing under the name of Tapan Kumar. But when New Theatres was going to close down in 48 or so, he was advised to move to Bombay, which was now becoming the new mecca of, Hindi cinema. So he made a round of all the composers, but everyone rejected him because he had that tremolo in his voice, that vibrato, which people said कि तुम्हारी आवाज कांपती है ना, ये घबराहट की निशानी है. So everybody rejected him, and someone, see, Anil at that time was on the top. So someone said, have you been to Anil Biswas? He said, नहीं वहाँ कहाँ जाऊँगा मैं, इन्होंने मुझे reject किया तो वो कहाँ मुझे देंगे. So try तो करने क्या है. So apparently he came, and my father had looked at him and thought, he saw a very handsome young presentable man and he thought he's come to act in movies. He didn't know who he was. And he said, look, my wife looks after the production. You go and see her in the studio. So he just dismissed him like that. And Talat Saab bichare Lucknow adab ke aadi, he was very insulted. He told me himself, मुझे बहुत बुरा लगा. फिर बाद में somebody was coming up the stairs and saw him going down, and he came and asked my dad that ये तपन कुमार यहाँ क्या कर रहा था. He said, तपन कुमार नहीं, ये तो कोई मुस्लिम लड़का था लखनऊ से, बोला कि मेरा नाम कुछ और है, तलब महमूद. So he said, हाँ वही तो है तपन कुमार. My father got so excited because he thought he knew about Talat's voice, because that was what he dealt with, music. And though he sent several messages, Talat Saab, that I was too insulted to go back, but then desperation me, I was forced to go back. And then he said, the strange thing is, when you talk of mentoring, how sometimes a composer can act as a catalyst for a singer's career.
Absolutely.
Arzu film was complete. It was complete. But he was so excited to work with a new and thrilling voice that he told the producer, no, I have to put another song in this film. So the producer was shouting, and Dilip Kumar was a big star that time, and the dates kahan se launga, I don't know. I will not do the background music if you don't put the song. And so Majnu Saab was called and sat down, wrote the lyrics, and the next thing, the song was recorded and deliberately inserted or pushed into the film. And then it became an overnight sensation, a huge hit. And all those music directors who had refuted him, who had rejected him, were now clamoring for him to come and sing their compositions, right? So when he went to them, because naturally he'd come to sing, they told him, "Hey, तुम्हारी आवाज़ ना ज़रा सीधी कर लो, don't keep that tremolo in your voice." And then my father called him back for Aram, and found that Talat Saab was singing एकदम सीधा. So the quiver had disappeared. He said, क्या हुआ? नहीं, और संगीतकार कहते हैं वो अच्छा नहीं लगता है, तुम सीधी आवाज करो. My father was very upset. He said, you want to commit suicide, go, but don't, doubt me. और वो तरत महमूद तुम्हें मिलेगा ना, वो ट्रेमोलो वाला, उसको मेरे पास ले आना. तुमसे लगे दोबारा बड़े बेआबरू होकर तेरे कुछ ऐसे हम निकले.
Correct.
But somehow reason struck him, then he returned. And that's how he sang the song Shukriya Hai Pyar Tera.
Absolutely. What a...
Shukriya is something which must have come from his heart, because it's thanks to the tremolo that
Correct.
Talat Saab has got a unique position in the world of music, because you cannot imitate that voice. There are clones of Rafi Saab, of Kishore Kumar, of Mukesh, but nobody can.
Absolutely.
Listen to the song.
Absolutely. Wonderful. I mean, and picturized very well as well. I mean, it had the mehfil setting, it had Talat, on the harmonium, and it was so beautifully all picturized, and you had the protagonists watching, Premnath and Durga Kote and Madhubala watching, I mean, so beautiful. I mean, I can't imagine anybody else other than Anilda having composed it and Talat having rendered it. I mean, so
they had a beautiful relationship. And I mean, it's amazing how even with Mukesh, Anilda had told him that to get out of this Saigal mold of yours and
Absolutely.
make your own identity.
Absolutely.
It was Anilda who said that, advised him. And with Talat Saab also, he made him maintain his tremolo, and that, like I said, gives Talat Saab a unique position in the world of music. And after that, of course, somehow the relationship between them was so beautiful. It was like father and son almost. And Talat Saab always said, these were the words he used: "Asma pe hai Khuda, और जमी पे अनिल दा." Yes.
That's a tribute. That's a tribute. That's a gem of a tribute, coming
What a
from.
wonderful thing.
Absolutely amazing thing to say. Shikha ji, a lot has been said about Anil Da, being the celebrated composer, his tenure in films. बहुत कुछ उनके बारे में public domain information भी है. The fact remains that your mother was equally accomplished, talented, and she was one of the most ravishingly beautiful women of her time. Ashlata ji was, and she was not the regular average Joe lady who gave up a career after she got married and had children. She continued to be a very strong force in producing movies for the home production. I mean, she actually went and, she was on ground doing things hands on. So, what are your recollections about your mother and her role, her significant role to cinema? So, if you could just elaborate a little, please.
Well, for one, I've always thought, not because she was my mother, that she was the most beautiful woman on this earth. I mean, when she walked into a room, there was to be total silence and everybody was looking at her. That's the kind of effect she had. And she had started acting at the age of 16 to help out her family, basically. And, for all those people who only talk about Anil Biswas and do not mention Ashalata Biswas, I have to tell them that Ashalata Biswas was a reigning screen heroine at the time when Anil Biswas was struggling as an assistant. And he was an assistant on her production Manmohan, where she acted with Vipul and Surendra as the remake of Devdas, which they had. She was already a top heroine and he was actually a nobody. And she had earned a lot of money herself, she had earned a lot of name and fame. And she was, I think, representative of the dynamic women of those times. And if you take a whole lot of people like Maharani Gayatri Devi, or so many people, the actors, if you take Durga Kote, Yashoda Samar, Lalita Pawar, and all of them would sit around smoking, and it was an era of bold and beautiful women, literally. So after she got married and my brother was born, elder brother Pradeep, then she gave up acting because she was still acting after films. So she didn't want to sit idle at home embroidering handkerchiefs. She decided that I have to do something. And then she set up this production company called Variety Pictures. And I've always seen her going to work, driving her own car. At that time, there were few women drivers as well, but she would drive a Hillman to the studio every morning, come back late at night. So she had her own work, space, and my father had his own workspace. Also, it probably gave him more time to sit and contemplate his tunes at home without having any bickering wife behind him. And then she produced, I think, 6 or 7 movies later on. After all the 6, Behman and Hamdard and all these films, there was also Adher Nagri, Chaupat Raja and Bazuman, which flopped miserably, but she's always been a very dynamic lady, totally in control, and she managed her, home and all 4 children with brilliance, because she gave us all a good education, the biggest ashirwad that the parents can give to their kids, I think. So, a very admirable lady. I mean, if you look at both of them as people, I would really say that I probably admired my mother more, despite the fact that the world admires Anilda more for many things like her intelligence, her honesty, her capability, and her dynamism. I mean, these things are there. And I think today also on YouTube there is one single video of hers, which is from a film called Brandy Ki Bottle, which was one of her, very important films of the time. And she is acting with all the top stars that time were Master Vinayak and, Jayaraj, etc. Char Aankhein film thing. So she was actually on a much higher position than my father was. So I think what happens is that when the woman lowers herself somewhere, then the balance वो पढ़ना ये वाला भारी हो जाता है. Because my dad rose in fame,
शायद.
and she decided to take not a very, I mean, not an exposure kind of a, you know, role, but more of a working mother, and so.
Which was very, very unusual for those times as well, you know. She didn't relegate herself to the background. बहुत ही मतलब बहुत यूनिक पोजीशन लिया उन्होंने, you know. शादी के बाद एक बहुत यूनिक स्टैंस लिया उन्होंने, you know.
She started learning cooking after the age of 50. And swimming as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
Then
Yeah.
turned out to be a marvelous cook. Even later on, when she used to have these little card parties with all the film producers' wives and the little starlets and the bygone heroines, and they would always come early. कि नहीं नहीं आशांति कुछ खिलाओ हमको, पहले हम खाना खाने आए हैं. And we had open house. The door was always open in our house. I mean, she was a lady of great generosity and openness. She always helped people. That's something which I think I've learned from her. She helped people a lot, and she was a wonderful woman.
Absolutely. And she was also great friends with Shobna Samarth, I mean, she enjoyed a very unique friendship with her. And
Yes.
I think that went through the years, a very unique girlhood friendship that walked right into filmdom and went on. And for the world that doesn't know, Shobna Samarth is Nutan ji's mother and the great Kajol's grandmother. So, it runs in the family. So, I'm very sure the audience that's come here is quite knowledgeable. For the uninitiated, this is the lineage, if we may trace. So, yeah, great friendships. I must also now come back to a very pivotal question of this conversation, Shikhaji. So, what was your own journey? Where did your journey take off? I mean, you were part of a film family. Where did you go off? Why didn't you get into films? I mean, interestingly, did you ever attempt? क्या हुआ था? मतलब, what's the story there? And what turn did it take later?
Nothing happened really. I was probably very foolish and young and full of principles. So it was actually actor Moti Lal who had predicted that हमारे next gen जो heroines हैं of the industry are three women, girls. One of them is Zahida, who got mentored by Devanand Tetron, did a lot of movies with him. The second was Anju Mahendru, and who also didn't do extremely well at that time because she acted in a couple of movies and then she got into this relationship with Kaka, who disapproved of her acting, and he wanted a wife who would stay at home and sit at home. That's what poor thing did. And the third was Shikha Biswas. At least those two acted in a few films. I was a non-starter totally. It's not that I was not offered movies. I was very easily offered. I think sometimes when you get things too easily, you don't value it so much. And there were a lot of offers. There was an offer from H.S. Ravel, who was wanting to take me for Mere Mehboob. And but he told my mother get her teeth capped because I've got these two big front buck teeth. And I was very upset at the thought. I said, why my teeth are my own? Why should I be ashamed of them? I didn't understand that you have to project a perfect image on screen. It was like Kajol, I feel today, she's so proud of her unilateral eyebrows.
Absolutely.
But, that time you were not allowed to do all these things. So I left that. Then I was considered out of three girls for Kashmir Ki Kadi. But of course, Sharmila Tagore won, and she deserved it. She was so beautiful. And then there was a film called Dhoop Ke Sai Mein, which I regret taking because the hero was Sanjeev Kumar, with whom my mother had acted in a Gujarati film. It was called Mare Jamu Pele Paar and remade into that huge hit Khilona, where she played his mother, and she told me he's a very good actor, this and that. So, and then the film that I really, there was a film called Drummer, which was being produced by Filmale, and Debu Mukherjee ka
Debu
Debu
Mukherjee.
hona tha usme. And somehow it didn't take off, although I shot for a couple of days, in which Dilip Kumar Sahab had taken a lot of interest in my work, in my career, but the film didn't take off. So it was remade many years later into Teesri Manzil.
Oh, wow. Okay. This is the backstory. Okay. Right.
The same story. This was Nasir Hussein's story. But the film that I really regret having missed was Padosan. I was offered Padosan by Mehboob Bhai, and Jyoti Swaroop was the director who had known me from childhood, and I used to tie Rakhi to Mahmood. So I was in college in Delhi, and these two used to fly to Delhi, call me to the airport where we sat for 4 hours. They would try to convince me that I should take up this role. They wouldn't come out of the airport. They would talk to me and then go back on another flight like that. And I just felt, Shantanu, that I was in my final year BA at college doing English honors, and I didn't want to lose that degree. What if I flopped as a heroine? I would have that degree to fall back upon. जो कुछ नहीं हुआ, पढ़ लिख के सब गवाया हमने, कुछ किया नहीं. But I just felt it was just 5 months away from my BA final exam. They came somewhere in September, October, just after the war was over. And my exams were in March. I said, भाईजान please 5 महीने ठहर जाइए ना, फिर मैं free हूँ, उसके बाद मैं करूँगी. तो if you want I shoot in the holidays also in the vacation. So but he said 5 महीने में बेवकूफ मेरी पूरी picture बन जाएगी. And next thing I knew, then I started shooting with Sara Banu. That's
Wow.
something which I really, really.
5 months and everything changed. Yeah, it changed. Everything changed. It happened.
What's more, really with everything and a lot of circumstances which are a little more personal, that I decided to hell with it. I don't want to join movies. Kya hai, rakha hai isme, because I had seen a lot of comfort and money in the house, but then throughout my life, I'm human and I cannot say that I lived without regret. I certainly do. Anyway, I'm still here and you're doing a program with me.
Absolutely, you've moved on to other things, and you really traced a wonderful journey ahead.
Yes.
Shikhaji, interestingly, Anilda also kind of moved cities, and in the later half of his career, or the years, I think he led a quieter life. He moved cities to Delhi, and he took up other roles, and I think it's in the early 80s, I think he staged a sort of a comeback, came back to the public light with the music for India's first soap opera, Hum Log. And जिस किसी ने वो serial देखा है, I mean, of course, I was a kid then and I still have vivid memories. वो जो गाना था, that I think was the, it used to it completely stays in mind, आइए, हाथ उठाए हम भी, beautiful song, and kind of brings back a lot of memories, and kind of, I think suddenly people started talking about who composed this, and he was back in the limelight, if I'm not mistaken. And I think there was also this entire, do we have the sound clipping? Can it be played? Is the Hum Log clipping there? Yeah, so beautiful. Yeah, and then Dada Muni's exactly.
From Fez Ahmed Fez. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we had Dada Muni's commentary in the end also, and interesting things. He used to come back with his quintessential style, and this beginning and the end where you were saying something. Sorry. Yeah.
No, I remember that the song that everybody was humming those years was that Hum Honge Kaamyab.
Yeah, correct. And there was, I think so, they were wrongly attributing it to Anilda, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yes.
That's what I wanted to talk about.
Yes, please do. Yes.
It was not composed by him. It was just the same lyrics and the same tune of the Black Anthem, the anthem for the Black Revolution in America. We shall overcome. We shall overcome one day. Same tune. So, but that's why it's very ironic that people don't know what are Anil Biswas's contributions to Indian cinema, which are really huge, and they attribute something to him which he didn't do at all. It's ironic.
Absolutely. And then, I do remember, people talking that this is Anilda's but again, it brought him back so much in the news in a particular era, and, kind of things exploded, and a lot of people also, and I think uh, if I may kind of kind of move on a little, you've also went on to do other things. You run your own organization, Sangeet Smriti. You're a writer. I have the good fortune of having read your book, The Lure of Old Tunes, because it's a great fictionalized piece of life in the film industry of the 30s, 40s, and early 50s. It was unputdownable, trust me. I had to finish it. Absolutely. I had to finish it off all. It was not in one go. I took a couple of days, 2-3 days, but I had to finish. So, I mean, I really want to hear more from you. Where did your journey go from the time that you like sort of decided you filmdom was not for you? So then what happened after that?
No, actually, I was in the services, and then my husband retired, and then we went off to some, godforsaken place called Gandhi Dham in Kutch, and then we came back to Delhi. And the first thing is about the book, yes. It all began after I had my surgery, and I was supposed to be taking bed rest for 2 months. I said, 2 months, what would I do? So my doctor said, why don't you write something? So I said, okay, that's a good idea. And write what? Uh, my daughter Paromita Vora, who's also a prolific writer and columnist herself and a documentary filmmaker, she wanted to make a documentary on my mother. So she said that keep writing things that you remember about Nani. So what is the point of jotting points? I thought I'd maybe write something with a scenic background and with some background story. And secondly, I have to say that uh, I had worked for some time with Rashtra Sahara in the English magazine and done a series of interviews with actors from really old time veterans from silent cinema like Jairaj and Dr. Tota Samat, Lalita Pawar. And I had, been quite fascinated by their stories. And when I went to research I remember I used to go to this NCPA library at Nariman Point and sit there for hours. And I found there were hardly any books on the subject. Okay. So that sort of set me off thinking that let me write something. And I said, oh, I have a story in my backyard. So my parents were part of that era where cinema was developing. And also, it would be a good way to give information to cinegoers, film lovers about the development of Indian cinema. And as I was writing, I followed allegorically actually following that development. So then you will find in that story interesting little bit of factors put in about cameras and lights and the first sound recording, all this. So it was an occasion for me opportunity to write a fictional novel, but inserting information about how cinema developed in the 30s and 40s and representing the kind of life that was there at that time, socially also, uh, you know, uh, politically also, so many factors. So then when it was going along, it was like just rolling on trolley wheels, I felt literally. I was very impressed by my own writing. I said, I didn't know I could write
And
so
it was
well.
good. It was good.
When I'm writing the next Booker. So I thought maybe I should try to get it published. It seems to be good enough to be a novel. So I approached Penguin with certain excerpts and I surprisingly I got a reply within 4 days. I was too stunned and they said, yeah, you bring your whole manuscript. And when my coordinator looked at the manuscript, it was this thick because I just kept writing and writing and writing and just carrying on without any form or, just a story carrying along. And then she said, this is too big, but I think the first half would work well, so edit it. Unfortunately, just after that, my husband fell ill and he was diagnosed with cancer. So, looking after him, his treatment, and taking care of him was a total focus. Then, after he passed away, getting used to the widowhood and handling all the financial affairs, the book completely was erased from my memory till Tanuja, the actor, uh, Shobna auntie and my mom are great friends. Tanuja and I are great friends also. So she told me, she said, what happened about that book you were writing? I said, what book? She said, the one you were to edit. I said, oh God, I've forgotten all about it. She
Wow.
said, come on, God damn it, try it, try it. So this is the way she talks. And she goaded me to complete, the story. And then I found that I could edit it into two separate sections where there is cinema being discussed from 1930 to 54, and then from 54 into the 70s to art film. And So that's how the books got published. I mean, I went to a company called Blue Jay Books. I thought I'd just probably, self-publish because the lady who was coordinating with me, Penguin, had moved on to another publishing house, so I didn't know anybody there anymore. And they were happy to publish the book for me, and that's how it got into print. And then before I knew it, the sequel also, which is called Solo, Solo, which is an acronym for Saga of Lost Opportunities.
Wow. Lovely. Great title.
That book deals with my kaleidoscopic perspective of the film industry, growing up in films as a young girl and seeing the transitions and the circumstances, and talking about things like casting couch, and I mean it's my observation of what the film industry was like at that time. So if people are interested, they can get back to me on my email to buy the book.
Absolutely.
Please post it after the session is over.
I will definitely put this as a remark and put this as a commentary after the session, and also the link to your first book, because personally I enjoyed the first book and I'm going to pick up a copy from you of the second book. एक बार उसका एक एडिक्शन लग गया ना, चस्का लग गया ना, तो सीक्वल जैसा कुछ पढ़ना ही पड़ेगा. You can't let go of the sequel.
People have been reacting like that.
Correct.
Because the second book, unfortunately, my publisher passed away before it could be going to print.
I see.
So then I had to self-publish it, and I didn't know how to distribute it. So copies are only with me. And people have been frantically looking for where is the sequel. It's nowhere on the e-sites, and it's only with me. And they've been tracing me from various sources. And last year, particularly the lockdown, also people came to my house. "We want to buy your book." So that they're frantically wanting to carry on the story after the ending 1954. So that's been the reaction of people who've read the Lure of Old Tunes and want to carry on. Though I must tell you that both books are completely different in terms of writing styles, in terms of perspective, because it's mostly from a young child growing into a young girl. So the writing is also similarly matching. It's not as intense or dramatic as the first book, but it's more of a little, casually tripping along into youth and marriage and everything. I mean, a young person's point of view.
Wonderful. Looking forward, actually. I think, sequel padna banta hai, I mean, I'm looking forward to, I'll pick this copy up from you at least. I'm signing up for this. Absolutely. So, which leads me to think, so what typically does Sangeet Smriti do? How did it germinate, and where has it reached now?
Sangeet Smriti, probably, I'm proud to say, is the #1 music society dealing with retro music in Delhi today. And it all happened because I told you we were in that godforsaken place called Gandhi Dham, where there was no cultural activity except the annual Garba. So when I was like desperate. It was like when we came back to Delhi after 11 years, it was like coming back from Banwas. And I was looking, my children, both daughters had gone off to Mumbai to join the media. So I left my husband and myself. And then when he retired, I said, help me to do something. I want to do something with my life. What are you going to do? He was very, disapproving of my book also, because I wanted to buy a computer, and he would say, क्या करोगी कंप्यूटर लेके, तुमने कौन सा ऑफिस का काम करता है? तो my daughter supported me, Paromita, and she bought the computer for me, and that's how these books have happened, thanks to her. God bless you, baby. And then I said, only thing, I missed in Gandhi Dham was my music, because there were no movie houses. So let me see. And at that time, after my father had passed away in 2003, we had been invited to the same Manohar Iyer who gave me his music. He had done a huge program at Shanmugh Khanat Hall in my father's memory after he passed away. And I saw what a wonderful program it was. And he had this organization, and I was very, taken up with it. I said, Delhi mein aisa kuch hai nahi. Let's start something here like this. And my husband was saying, akele kya karogi? I said, you just do your filing. File my form, then do my banking work. I will do everything else. And alone, वो literally कहते हैं ना, जो मजनू साहब का शेर है कि कारवां चलता गया, लोग बढ़ते गए और कारवां चलता गया. That is exactly what happened. मैं अकेला ही चला था जाने पे मंजिल मगर लोग मिलते गए और कारवां बनता गया. So literally like that. I was so stupid that in these days of computers, I had actually put up very childlike posters in India International Center and Habitat Center. But I got a tremendous response and seeing that, yeah, there were people here passionate about world music, not just playing at that. And within 6 months, we had 100 members. So we inaugurated our program at International Center, which was presided over by music director Ravi. Since then, we've been progressing, and I'm happy to say we have set off a lot of young, talented singers on the road to their careers and professions to success also. And we bond like a family, all of us. We enjoy our music together. And like one lady was introducing me on the stage once, and she said, Shikhati started Sangeet Spriti, and now the whole of Delhi is singing, which is not a very good thing because some of them are bad singers, but it's all about wanting to sing, so it's okay. So they put on these programs. We have annual programs, 3 or 4 a year, with a concept on showcasing the songs with good singers, professional singers, as also we give a lot of information behind the creation of those songs, which is what people are curious about today. And if you're interested, we will be presenting a program on Saleh Chaudhary on the 5th of September.
Oh, wonderful.
On our YouTube channel. So you could, listen to that and see what work we are doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I think this is the project that's currently consuming a lot of your mind and energies, if I'm not mistaken. This tribute to Saleh Chaudhary.
When I heard this adage that life begins at 60, I poo-pooed the whole concept. I thought, nonsense. Life ends at 60. But for me, it has literally started at the age of 58. When my book, I started late. I started writing the book. My books were published when I was, I think, 65, the first one. The second was when I was 72. And my work has started after I was 60, literally. Before that, I was just a housewife. I was a non-entity. So today I have an identity. I'm proud of the work I've done. I'm sure I'm making my father proud up there and all the other composers who are looking down and blessing us for the work we're doing.
Absolutely. So
I'm happy with that. It's non-commercial. I don't make money. I put my own money into it. But it gives me a lot of satisfaction when the program, the singing is appreciated, the music is loved, and people,
where do you see Sangeet Smriti going from here? What's the kind of dream you have?
Well, I think I've achieved quite a lot of it, and that was to make people aware of the kind of work and the contribution that all these maestros did, which they did not have the means to talk about all this at their time because no media was there. There was only like the one Filmfare magazine and or some, Film India, which was like a very sleazy kind of a piece of literature. But this way, we are going across to music lovers. We've done several tributes on Facebook, which to these maestros, and for every song, I detail a lot of information of what happened behind the song, for that matter. How was this song composed? And there is a lot of curiosity for this kind of nostalgia, I have noticed. So we are giving satisfaction to people by all this information sharing, by all the music sharing. And I think the main thing is the way we have bonded in Sangeet Smriti as a family. There was a time when some members wanted to convert it into a kind of, corporate thing with a lot of marketing and all that, which was probably a good thing, would have been a good thing for us. But I said no, I wanted to be something which spreads love, because that's what music of that time initiates. The sublimity, the subtlety is what I want to, gather together. And today I'm happy and proud to say that yes, it's happened. People have bonded, and there are today about 40 little groups that are doing music shows, and good or bad, but they're doing it, and they're doing it for the love of music. So it's good. Whatever has happened.
Absolutely.
And I think now I can just gleefully, joyfully retire. It's a sense of satisfaction.
Wow, that's a very prolific and a very gracious statement that you've made, Shikhaji. And as we sail kind of into like soft land into our closing notes, I recall, while we were talking, you spoke about a closing, like a memory, a very a poignant memory of Anilda in terms of Root Kar To Chal Diye. This being a song that is really, kind of very close to your heart. Could you share a little more as to why?
Uh, this song actually endeared itself to me also the time that my brother had passed away. You want to listen to the song first?
Yeah, let's listen to the song. Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, over to you, Shikhaji.
Close to my heart because the words that root ke to nahi gaye, but chal gaye Baba, chal diye Baba, and there are some songs that I always recollect when I think of him, and the fact that he's not here anymore, and I do regret never having talked to him about his music, but I know from up there he's looking down and thinking that at last she is able to appreciate what work I have done, so it must be giving him some satisfaction up there. But strangely enough, this song is from a film that ran only for one day in the theaters. It was despite having Geeta Bali in the star cast. But this song has become, it's like still today a favorite with many singers who aspire to sing this song. And a lot of my father's compositions, like Jabe To Sinahi Bolu, which is a tough composition to sing, challenge for any singer. Uh, but these are the kind of songs that I've started liking now. Not because I'm older or whatever, but I think that whatever I heard in my youth was very frivolous. And these are songs of, such sublimity that it gives you peace to your heart and soul. ये बाबा के कई गाने हैं. There is सो गई चांदनी जाग उठी बेकली गम सताने लगे तुम मुझे और भी याद आने लगे.
Wonderful.
मैं जब उनके गाने सुनती हूँ तो मुझे और भी याद आने लगते हैं कि मैंने क्यों आपसे कुछ सीखा नहीं, क्यों आपकी बातों पे ज्यादा गौर नहीं किया. You were trying to teach me so many things in life about Rabindranath Tagore, about values, about many things you would want to talk about, and I was only interested in polishing my fingernails. I mean, it was that was such a superficial life, and here is a life of depth and density, which I've grown into, and I think that his songs have helped me a great deal in finding this kind of tranquility at this age, very necessary. So, like I said, he spoiled me for any other composer. Now I just like to listen to this Lata Mangeshkar and Anilda combination has got some rare beauties. If
Gems.
people, yes, and it's too vast. It's an ocean, like you said, but it's too vast an ocean to delve into in a 1.5 hour.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, it merits an entire search back into YouTube and archives and all our sources and collections and a whole, a set of days, a month's calendar or a year's calendar to be dedicated to this listening on a day-to-day basis. और शायद ही वो complete हो वो journey तब भी, there's just so much of music. And I'll let you into a secret. Last year, you had shared on your timeline a song sung by your daughter in memory of your father, and she had rendered Dur Papiha Bola, and Tuhina ji had rendered that. And trust me, since then it's been dogging on my mind that I should actually get you onto the podcast and have this conversation with you. शायद बरसों से ये ख्याल था, बट तुहिना जी के गाना, वो सुरैया का गाना सुनने के बाद, एंड इट्स सो ब्यूटिफुली रेंडर्ड, या गजरे का दूर पापीहा बोला, एंड शी हैड sung so well with all the nice adas and so near perfect to the original. तब से दिमाग में एक ख्याल.
It makes a difference. I mean that's what my father used to always say, that playback singing is not only about singing, it's also about acting.
Totally.
You have to act out the song because
Correct.
a film song is all about emotions or situations. So
Correct.
that she did perfectly, and that song became a big hit. That huge number of views on Facebook, I think it was 7 or 8,000 views.
Correct.
Which is not for Facebook. And on her Instagram, when she put it, it got 32,000.
Not not
likes and
surprising because she's enjoyed herself absolutely. और उस जमाने के अदाएं सब करके बहुत cutely, she was absolutely perfection. ऐसे लग रहा था, you need not watch Suraya in action in Gajre. You've actually seen the original. तो बहुत प्यारा गाना, मतलब बहुत अच्छा rendition.
listening to all this, they don't listen to anything that I do as such.
Families are that way. Some are very supportive and some, have a very random way of being there and not there. My family is present for this. Everyone's present for this. Yes. So, Shikha ji, I'm so grateful for the fact that you really joined in today, took so much time out and, came in to be a part to discuss a legends from your family, and you yourself are a walking, talking encyclopedia of such wonderful insights from the film industry, your life, your parents. So I'm really grateful that you really joined us today. I'm really grateful to our audiences also. I saw a very big common thread, as I was talking to you, a lot of people are appreciating the program. A niche audience, but a lot of comments coming in. So very grateful to everyone who took time out to join in today. And there should be more follow-up conversations in person when we meet sometime. Very grateful for this, for this episode. And we should sync up. Thank you so very much. And I also thank my friend Shija for actively supporting on the soundtrack, some of the soundtrack despite small glitches we had. So thank you so much, Shija, for really being a part of this. And more to come. Thank you so much, Shikhaji. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shantanu, for having discovered me on Facebook and giving me this opportunity to talk about my father's work. And like you said, niche audience, because that was Anil Biswas, Madan Mohan, Jaidev. They did not make songs for the public. They made songs for music and for their own creativity and satisfaction. So my father himself said once that अगर मेरे संगीत ने एक भी दिल को छुआ है तो मैं समझता हूँ कि मेरा काम कामयाब हो गया. तो हम भी ऐसे ही कहते हैं कि अगर दो लोग भी सुन रहे हैं और दिलो जान से सुन रहे हैं तो I'm totally grateful to all of you whoever came in to listen to this podcast. Thank you so much for having me on the platform and giving me a chance to talk about my parents.
Absolutely. It's our privilege. Thank you so very much.